Okay, it looks like it's that time. Aloha, everyone, and welcome to a special presentation tonight, the annual Talk Story with Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. It's your chance to meet the staff of MNMRC and hear about all the work that they've been doing to achieve healthy coral reefs and clean ocean water for the islands of Maui Nui. We're all so excited that you're here. I'm Darla Palmer-Ellingson, your MC, and I'm also the local radio show host of the public affairs program Island Environment 360, Maui's only commercially broadcast public affairs show on environmental and related Hawaiian cultural topics, aired on the stations of H Hawaii Media. Tonight's presentation is part of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's monthly Know Your Ocean Speaker Series, usually held on the first Wednesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom. This monthly series is supported by the County of Maui Mayor's Office of Economic Development. And there's just a few things before we get going. You'll notice that your microphone is on mute. Please keep it on mute during the presentation to avoid distractions. We do invite you to submit questions using the Q&A button on the lower edge of your screen. You might need to mouse over to see that menu. And we'll leave time at the end of the presentation to answer your questions. We have the pleasure tonight to hear from 5 presenters, and each bring an exciting aspect of MNMRC's operation. First up is Amy Hodges. Amy is the Programs and Operations Manager at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. She has worked with MNMRC for more than 9 years. Amy is responsible for managing all aspects and activities of most of Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's projects and supports all of MNMRC's programs via her sizable skills in logistics, grants management, accounting, volunteer coordination, and public outreach. Amy is currently a graduate student in fish, wildlife, and conservation biology at Colorado State University. Welcome, Amy.
Hi, thanks, Darla. Aloha, everyone. I'm going to start us off today here. Here we go. I'm going to start us off in Poha Watershed. And I know that a lot of you joining tonight have already visited us virtually in this watershed, but we've been there for the past year in 2021 as well. So this is again in the Ma'alaya area of the island, if you're not familiar with it. And we're going to be going from the top of the watershed down all the way to the waters. And we've been busy implementing projects from the Poha Watershed Stormwater Management Plan. So here we go. As we all know, the area is really prone to fires. About every other year wildfire goes through. I'm knocking on wood right now as we're technically due for one. If it was every other year, but I'm sure it won't happen. But you know, in 2020, we did implement fuel breaks and fire breaks in about 2 miles of that watershed. And then in 2021, right now we're completing another about 1.5 miles, or technically 1.67 miles of fuel breaks in the upper watershed there. And our partners in the project, DOFA, that's Division of Forestry and Wildlife, and the Land Division of DLNR, also maintain and have implemented some fire breaks in the very upper part of the watershed there. So those roads that we've done, combined with the wind turbine road, which acts itself naturally as a fire break, we pretty much have the perimeter of that watershed surrounded by fire breaks by the end of this year. And what that means is a reduction, we hope, in the erosion that results when and if a fire should come through there, less vegetation loss, less soil loss that runs down into the ocean. So we're working with the Coit Tree Service this year in the upper section. Next, as we move down, we're getting closer down to the highway, coming off the state land parcel, and we have some planting sites, strategic plantings that we're doing there. We're working closely with John Estilla of Sunshine Vetiver Solutions, and we're doing plantings at 11 sites along the lower fire break road there. And if you're looking at the slides, they're the yellow highlighted spots. They do look kind of small, but when you're planting plants, it's a lot of plants in those areas. And those are sites that we've noticed are kind of prone to erosion or little gullies, runoff, things that might make their way down into the drains and into our ocean, or things that might jeopardize the condition of those fire breaks and access roads that we've worked to improve just through general runoff after rain events. So the vetiver planting there will help capture any of the sediment, and then behind the rows of vetiver, we'll be coming in and doing some native planting in the soft sediment that's trapped by the vetiver. And we have noted some native plants already, heartily surviving there, things like Ali'i, Uhaloa, Ilima. So looking to put those in, nothing that's big and woody that's going to contribute to the fire fuel load, but things that would be happy to live there in the sediment that's captured by the vetiver. And so we've done some contour surveys there, and we're set to do some planting. All right, getting closer to the highway, we've got our head cuts. You've probably heard us talk about this before, but the head cuts are right at the drainage pipes that go under the highway. In 2021, we did complete the monitoring of these erosion scour points. This is where any of the stormwater that's running off the hillside hits the drainage pipes and kind of scours backwards, and it's these big erosion hotspots. So we had Maui Environmental Consulting doing the monitoring through the winter of 2020 into 2021. We completed that in the spring, and the takeaway message here is, we did have one sufficient rainstorm that happened, and from just 2 of the worst head cuts there, we quantified 32 tons of soil loss in that single one-day rain event.
Amy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to suggest maybe you turn off your camera. We're having a little bit of audio difficulty.
Shucks. Okay. Let me take care of that. Sorry, not going.
Amy, if you mouse over the top of your, oh, there you go. Okay.
Sorry about that. It was, anyway, Zoom. Is this any better, or should we just kick it straight to Meredith?
No, I think it'll be good. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Well, here we are. We're at 32 tons of soil loss in one storm event. And so we're just using that data, recognize that those 2 head cuts are kind of our problem children in the area. And so the question is, what do we do about it? How do we repair those head cuts? What does that look like? What does that cost? What's the engineering? What materials would we use? And so we took that question and we rolled with it, and we contracted with a Goodfellow Brothers, and through them CDF Engineering, and they're working on some engineering design plans and constructible design cost estimates for repairing those head cuts, and as well these any stormwater detention basins that we could do on that landscape. So by the end of the year, we should have engineering plans, topographic maps, modeling, hydrologic flow modeling, all the things that we need to say, hey, if we want to implement these repairs on the land, this is what it would cost and this is what it would look like. So we can take that and find sources of funding for that. And we also have Maui Environmental Consulting doing stream assessments of the 6 gulches and gullies on the land and of the current conditions of the detention basins. And here we go. We're almost to the water. We're hitting the Maui Triangle parking lot. One of the projects in the stormwater management plan was, hey, what if we did low impact development on this parking lot? What if we were able to capture that stormwater? What if we were able to prevent any vehicle associated pollutants from running off into the water? So we have been holding 2 stakeholder meetings so far with our partners in Ma'alaya Triangle Association and also Ma'alaya Harbor Shops, Maui Ocean Center, and Pacific Whale Foundation, and our friends at DOBOR, which is the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. We all came together, identified pollutants of concern for those stakeholders of Ma'alaya, so stormwater, vehicle pollutants, and rubbish and debris. It's just so windy there, they get a lot of trash blowing around. And then Maui Environmental Consulting, again, is helping us select what LID BMPs or best management practices would work to help control those pollutants in the area. So things like bioswales, so inverting any of the existing green spaces downwards to capture stormwater, cutting into the curbs so that stormwater can flow into those green spaces and then filter that way instead of running right out into the ocean. And also some probably pilot projects with permeable pavement in the area. And we're hoping that the parking lot LID project there can be an example of what parking lots could be all over Maui. So again, we'll have this summary of results of this LID project by the end of the year, and that's something that we can move forward on implementing in future years. And lastly, we're at the Oysters in the water. So our oysters, again, we continued in 2021. We had 10,000 plus in there between the 2 species of Pacific and the native oysters. Again, they filter 50 gallons a day, and if they're in there, they're doing their job filtering and cleaning the water for us. Of course, we hope that the sediment never reaches the ocean, but if it does, then the oysters are our last line of defense there that we're using. And we did see kind of a slower winter season in growth for our oysters, but this summer they really picked up. And you can see here between January and July, all that frilly laciness on the oysters. That's the new growth. They got really excited this summer and got big and fat for us. So we're interested to see what happens this winter. And after that, we'll hand it on to Meredith, who's going to take you into the water.
All right. Well, next up, we do have Meredith Beeson. She is a project and research coordinator at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council and is also a team lead with Hui Oka Viola Ocean Water Quality Monitoring Program. Meredith also assists with monitoring the oysters and MNMRC's oyster bioremediation project and coordinates Know Your Ocean speaker series. Meredith is originally from Houston and graduated from Cal Poly St. Louis Obispo and with a degree in marine biology. Welcome, Meredith.
Thank you, Darla. Thanks for the introduction. Let's see. All right, like she said, my name is Meredith. I'll be talking to you guys about our different projects going on in Ma'alaya in terms of water quality, kind of continuing on to what Amy was talking about. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the different equipment we use and then also show you some of the data that we've received from that equipment, as well as some graphs that we've created from that data. So first, we've got our Aqualink buoys, which we just installed at the end of October at 3 different sites, which were Olawalu, Kihei at the Cove, and also Ma'alaya, just outside of the harbor. We had a fun boat day out there installing these guys. So this is what they look like underneath the surface of the water. So there is an anchor or a weight at the bottom, which holds the buoy in place. And then it's got 2 sensors here, one at 15 meters deep and one at 1 meter deep. And that's where the data collection takes place. And then it travels through this data cable all the way up to the surface here at that spotter buoy, which has solar panels to charge the batteries there. And then that data is transmitted to a satellite in real time. So if you go to aqualink.org, you can see the data that we're collecting in real time. And this is what you'll see on their website if you pull it up. So like I said, it's measuring that temperature at 1 meter and 15 meters deep. And so we can see, what it's like, the temperature at the surface and what it's like at the bottom where all the coral are. And then you can see the heat stress alert level there in red and orange and yellow. And right now it's saying that there is not a stress there. as well as wind speed and direction and wave height period and direction. So that's also helpful for any surfers that like to go hit the cove or Oluwalu, any areas. You can check this out in real time. I think it updates. You can see here when I downloaded it, it was 48 minutes ago, so at least hourly. And then this is that heat stress like alert. This is how they calculate that. So there's a bleaching threshold that they have calculated through research and data, and that's where they say that coral is going to bleach. So they're saying that's just above 28 degrees Celsius, and our historical max, this is from just outside of Maui Harbor, is just above 27 degrees Celsius. So you can see the real data that was taken over a few month period here, and it hasn't reached that 28 degrees, but obviously that could very well happen in the near future. Next, I want to talk to you guys about our Pac Io Seabird. And this was a partnership program with Pac Io. They lent us this sonde here from September 2020 till September 2021. So we got a whole year of data, and we moved it to different locations around Maui Harbor to try to see how the conditions changed based on season, as well as, you know, throughout the day and where it was in the harbor. So it stayed at each location in the harbor for about 28 days, and it was installed via with scuba diving. So we would scuba dive to install it and wrap these around, tighten it up, make sure it wasn't going to move for 28 days. We'd strap it to some sort of piling or structure underwater that was already there. And then 28 days later, we would go retrieve the sonde and pull it out of the water. You can see it before it went in when it was all clean and pretty. That's what it looked like, Amy holding it there. And then to download the data, it doesn't have that fancy satellite transmission like the Aqualink buoys do. We had to pull it out of the water and plug it into a data cable, which we were able to download onto the laptop. And then we changed the batteries and then put it back in the water for another 28 days. And so this is some of the data that we received from that Pac Io sonde. We were especially interested in how the data pertained to our oyster growth. And so we were moving it like around the harbor to especially locations where our oysters were to try to capture that chlorophyll level. So chlorophyll levels help us estimate algae abundance, which is synonymous with food for our oysters. So we were especially interested in that. You can see there was 2 spikes here during this 28-day period. And then this is also data that was captured from this Pac Io sonde. This was a January storm event. It might be the same one that Amy just talked about, January 18th. And you can see that in January, on January 18th, when the storm came, that turbidity level increases and it actually stays really high for the days even following that one-day storm event. And it's important to note here that that sonde could not get values over 24 into use. But then later in the year, we actually got a piece that was able to get higher than that. So you see it all kind of leveling off here. And that's just because the sonde wasn't able to capture those higher levels. All right, our next piece of equipment that we like to use is our Manto Probe. And this measures pH, conductivity, dissolved oxygen, depth, temperature, turbidity, and salinity. So all of that in this tiny little probe here. This is John Starmer, our chief scientist, and sometimes he will get in his kayak and kayak around Maui Harbor to take the different samples, but sometimes he'll just walk around and test from the shoreline. And this specific model has to be plugged into this amphibian device here, which takes that GPS location at wherever he is sampling, and then it also downloads that data, which we can then plug into a laptop to obtain it. And this is some of the data that we received from that Manto Probe, as well as our partnership with Huioka Viola, which you'll hear a little bit about later. They also collect data, and so we used both to really, get a good idea of what was happening all along the coast here. And this is the turbidity data from 2020 as well as 2021. And the bigger the blob here, the higher the turbidity levels. So you can see that Injection Well Beach here had the highest turbidity level, and then all the way over here at Kalia Pond had the lowest level. So the last technique I'm going to talk about is nutrient samples. You can see here these samples, the syringe is put into the water to capture the ocean water. It is then pushed through a filter tip, which will filter out all of the larger sediment and sand that we don't care to look at. And it's not going to give us any nutrient data. And then it's put into a bottle, which is frozen and shipped off to a lab. So some of our samples are going locally to a lab here at Maui College. And then some of our samples, especially the ones from Hui o ka Waiʻola, are going to a lab at Manoa. And so this is some of that nutrient data that we received back. We received 5 different types, but this is the nitrates and nitrites. And nitrates and nitrites, the inputs are from like fertilizer and manure use in agricultural land, as well as wastewater treatment, including septic tanks. And you can see that the state standard here is at 3.5. It almost looks like it's the bottom line of this graph, but that's just because the scale is stretched because the geometric mean of the nitrates and nitrites are way above that state standard level. So you can see that, most, I guess, Kalia Pond is not over that state standard, but the rest of the sites in Maalaea are. And this is just 2021 data, and it also includes samples that we took in Maalaea, as well as Hui o ka Waiʻola data. All right, thank you guys.
So Meredith, were you one of the ones that got to go diving in Maalaea Harbor?
Yes, I was one of the lucky ones.
You're a brave girl. Okay,
yeah,
so
fun.
Next up we have Tiara Stark. She is a Maui native who gained skills applicable to conservation in Hawaii through research projects on marine mammal behavior, coral reef ecology, population genetics, and fisheries management, while pursuing a BS in marine biology from the University of Hawaii at Manoa in 2014, and in 2018, an MS in evolution, ecology, and organism biology from Ohio State University. Currently, she works in Maui with the Nature Conservancy and Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, where she leads various projects on coral bleaching monitoring and community-based marine management. She's the senior team lead at Hui o ka Waiʻola, a citizen science-based ocean water quality monitoring program here on Maui. So welcome, Tiara.
Thank you, Darla. Aloha, everybody. My name is Tiara Stark, and I'm the senior team lead, as Darla mentioned, with Hui o ka Waiʻola. I also lead a project with the Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But today I'll just be sharing a quick overview of a couple of the programs and projects that I'm leading as a part of the council, and we'll go ahead and start with Hui o ka Waiʻola, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with. So Hui o ka Waiʻola is the first citizen science-based water quality monitoring program of its kind in Hawaii. It was established in 2016 by 3 different organizations: the Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, the Nature Conservancy, and the West Maui Ridge Reef Initiative. And this was after their quality assured project protocol was approved by the Department of Health. So since then, we've had over 50 volunteers join our efforts to malama or care for the coastal waters of Maui. Currently, we monitor 12 physical and chemical water parameters, and that includes nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus, and other things like pH, temperature, and salinity. And all of these parameters help us make inferences about the health of our nearshore waters, as well as the coral reefs. And that is at all of the 29 sites that we're currently monitor across leeward Maui, from Ahihi, Kina'u in the south, all the way to Honolulu in the northwest. So some 2021 milestones we have for you guys. By the end of 2021, we will have conducted sampling at all the West Maui sites, 17 for 2021, the year 2021, and 19 sampling sessions in South Maui. And this increases our total sample size for the duration of our program to 97 sampling sessions in West Maui and 73 in South Maui, which is pretty darn impressive. So as our organization and data set continues to grow, we continue to work toward our mission and are now in the stage of moving beyond just establishing a baseline for how water quality is at our sites. So at the moment, we're focused on how our long-term water quality data set has revealed trends, which will help drive watershed management. And we are happy to announce that we will have a regional report which details all of that coming out early next year. So I'm not going to go into these findings. If any of you attended last month's Know Your Ocean Speaker series, I went into a lot of detail. So in case you missed it, you can totally watch it on MNMRC's Facebook page at this link here. So now I'm gonna just share a little bit about a very new project that I'm excited about. I'm leading it under the council, and it is on characterizing streams as point source polluters of trash and macroplastic debris on Maui's coastlines. And this work was generously funded by National Geographic. I was named a 2021 National Geographic Explorer through their early career grant. So in Maui, there are numerous streams that serve as potential pathways connecting trash pollution from local land-based sources to the island's coastline and nearshore waters. So in this map here, there's just a ton of streams, but they're just color-coded by whether they're perennial, which are always flowing, or non-perennial and intermittent, which means they're more seasonal. So in addition, many of those streams are actually gulches, which means that they're dry for much of the year. And these gulches will tend to accumulate trash blown into them from nearby roadways and urban areas. And some of them are also used as illegal dumping grounds or as homeless encampments. And during seasonal rainstorms, all of this accumulated trash can then just get deposited into the ocean. Once in the ocean, this debris may alter coral reef habitats or may entangle or be ingested by coastal and marine animals, including some of which are only found in the Hawaiian Islands, such as the Hawaiian monk seal. Trash and plastic pollution also negatively impacts human communities through the loss of aesthetic value, contamination of food sources, which is a big one here in Hawaii, and other public health hazards. But despite these like undeniable and obvious threats, there haven't been any previous studies to quantify debris like within and around Maui streams and gulches and coastal stream mouths. So to address this gap in local marine debris research, we created this project. And this project gathers fundamental data on local stream contribution and seasonal transport of land-based marine debris to the island's coastline for informing effective stream management decisions and to increase public awareness about our community's role in creating marine debris. So to achieve this, we've selected 6 stream sites, tentative stream sites, stream/gulch sites around the island of Maui. And these sites are near various types of potential trash pollution sources so that we can assess how those specific sources may be associated with debris accumulation. And that may also help pinpoint priority sites for mitigation in the future. Potential sources of trash include urban centers, like I said, homeless encampments, roadways, sites that might have high recreational use. So there might be like some ponds up Malco where a lot of people go swimming and may leave their trash. And again, illegal dumping areas is another issue. So at each of these 6 sites, we will mark and monitor 3 separate 200-foot sections. One section will be located at the coastal stream mouth, one will be located above a potential source of trash introduction, and one will be located below the potential source of trash introduction. So we are trying to strategically place these sections so that we can compare, the above section, which hypothetically would be free of debris, to like the lower sections to see what the sources may be and how far that debris is being transported down the stream. And so in this example, Kanaio Gulch, the busy highway in Ma'alaya, and because we all know it's so windy there, is a potential source or introduction of debris. So each 200-foot section, staff will conduct characterization surveys, which will determine which characteristics or attributes of a stream or gulch are highly correlated with higher trash debris loads. So these will be conducted 2 times a year, once during dry and once during wet season. We will, physical characteristics include things like the stream width, depth, the substrate of the bottom of the stream or gulch, and what kind of riparian cover there is on the edge of the stream. And recreational characteristics include access, recreational use, or population density of a nearby urban area. So all of these things factor into how much trash might accumulate in these ditches. So also at these sections, staff and volunteers will conduct modified urban rapid trash assessment surveys to assess qualitative and quantitative parameters that capture both the breadth of the trash pollution issue through estimating sources of trash and characterizing levels of trash types more harmful to humans and aquatic life. And lastly, we have an awesome new intern with the council who will be leading beach surveys fronting each of our 6 stream sites to gather data on debris transport to the coastline and accumulation. So again, we hope these data will help shed light on trash sources and streams or gulches that are more likely to be pathways of trash debris to the coastline to help inform watershed management. We also hope to learn more about geographic and seasonal variation in pollution loads and variation in debris transport along the length of a stream. And lastly, and probably most importantly, we really hope to better understand community level contribution to the marine debris problem on this island, not only so we can help spread awareness, but also to help mitigate the issue. And so this project is very much in its infancy stage, but we are starting to seek some dedicated volunteers to help conduct beach and or stream trash removal surveys starting early next year. So if you're interested in volunteering or just learning more about the project, please feel free to shoot me an email at tiara@mauireefs.org. And that's all I have for you. Mahalo. And I think I'll hand it to Jill next.
Hey, well, thank you so much, Tiara, and congratulations on being designated as the National Geographic Explorer. Can I say that I know you?
Sure, there's multiple of us, but yes, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next up is Jill Wurtt. She recently joined M&MRC's staff as project and research coordinator. She holds a master's degree specializing in coastal and marine resource management from the Bren School of Environmental Science and Management, University of California, Santa Barbara. She obtained her bachelor's degree at San Diego State University in Environmental Sciences. Jill is a graduate of the Kupu Conservation Leadership Development Program, a Hawaii-based program for individuals who seek an intensive entry-level experience in preparation for a career in the conservation field. Jill is managing Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's Reef-Friendly Landscaping Program and assists with grant writing and social media and helps with oyster monitoring. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you so much, Darla, and thank you everyone for being here tonight and taking time out of your probably busy schedules to learn more about the projects that we have. My name is Jill Wurtt, and I am a fairly new project and research coordinator with Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. And like Darla mentioned, I help with a few different projects here. I help with oyster monitoring in Ma'alaia Harbor, as well as some grant applications, social media outreach and communications. But my main project focus here is implementing our reef-friendly landscaping program. As we know, corals are threatened from multiple stressors, including warming ocean temperatures, ocean acidification, as well as runoff from land-based sources of pollution. Hawaii's reefs are very important. They're valued at $10 billion. They generate about $800 million in gross revenues annually, and they are very important. They act as coastal buffers to wave erosion and wave action. They provide major sources of food and resources, as well as places for tourism and recreation. They're highly important to Hawaiian culture and provide a very important habitat for biodiversity of marine organisms. So we want to keep these coral reefs healthy, and one of the ways we are addressing this is to solve a small portion of the problem of runoff from land-based sources of pollution. Common landscaping applications have a lot of negative impacts. A lot of times synthetic fertilizers, as well as chemical pesticides and herbicides, are applied on landscapes. When they run off, they can cause coral bleaching, aquatic birth and developmental effects, feminization of organisms, as well as algae blooms and photosynthesis inhibition of zooxanthellae. Zooxanthellae are those really tiny little plants that live inside of coral polyps. They photosynthesize and make food for the coral. If there's algae or excess sediment in the water, a lot of that sunlight gets blocked, therefore inhibiting photosynthesis from happening, and the corals can't survive. There are typically synthetic water-soluble fertilizers used. They're petroleum-based as well. They dissolve very quickly and release nitrogen rapidly into the soil. The nitrogen's only available for a short time, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, which means you have to reapply those fertilizers more frequently. And the fertilizers are really only feeding the plant and not the soil, and tend to strip the soil of its really important microbes of bacteria, protozoa, fungi, all of the really great things that keep the soil together. So that dissolved nitrogen can quickly enter the groundwater and make its way into the ocean, causing algae growth that can then smother corals and cause reef loss. So there are alternatives to this that are organic, that focus on building healthy, productive microbial life in the soil. The microbes then feed on natural materials in the soil to release a natural source of nitrogen for all of your plants and lawns, which means little or no added fertilizer is needed. Hopefully in the long run, it turns out to be less expensive. We really want to focus on restoring that soil microbiome because it holds on to water, it retains more nutrients, holds on to sediment as well. So we're preventing a lot of that runoff from going onto our reefs. So our program, our Reef Friendly Landscaping Certification, there's 2 tiers, silver and gold, that were adapted from the Northeast Organic Farming Association standards. We are also offering free consultations with an accredited organic land care professional, Dwayne Sparkman, who is so knowledgeable. We're working with other landscaping experts on Maui who provide organic land care products. We're going to be working with hotels, resorts, golf courses, condos, and other businesses to make it easy for them to switch over to organic and reef-friendly land care. We want to make it as easy as possible to do the right thing, right? We want to keep those reefs nice and healthy. When they make that switch, they'll get a plaque depending on what tier they're in, silver or gold. They'll also get media recognition, be featured on our website and social media. We'll provide all sorts of outreach materials and window displays for the properties for guests and residents to actually learn more about organic land care. The goal of the project is, of course, to reduce nutrient runoff from synthetic fertilizers, as well as chemical runoff from pesticides and herbicides. We want to restore that soil microbiome and then promote our partners who are doing the right thing for our reefs. So if you or someone you know want to get involved with the project, whether it's in your condo complex or your HOA, I would be super excited to talk to them and coordinate this effort. So let me know if you would like to participate. Thank you all again, and happy to answer any questions later on.
Well, thank you so much. Wow, I learned quite a bit that I didn't know in that section. So, and finally tonight we have Ann Rilero, the Communication, Community Outreach and Development Manager at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. Ann has worked in the nonprofit conservation sector on Maui for 24 years. Thank you for your service, Ann. For the last 4 years at MNMRC, she's utilized her writing, marketing, grant writing, and public relations skills to advance MNMRC's mission. She writes MNMRC's monthly newsletter, Reef and Brief, and is an avid swimmer who swims each week along South Maui's coastline. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you very much, Darla. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, and let me get things started here. Okay. Sorry. All right, here we go. So, yes, I'm Ann Rilero. I'm the Communication, Community Outreach and Development Manager here at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, and I wanted to talk with you about our visitor education programs. We've conducted educational outreach for nearly 14 years here at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, But in recent years, we've increased it because we've seen the visitor numbers go up. And we've also seen an increase in the concerns of local residents about the impacts of tourism on our coral reefs and our ocean environment. So in talking with visitors, we've learned that many people are really eager to snorkel, get in the ocean, participate in ocean recreation activities, but people don't have a lot of people don't know a whole lot about the coral reef environment. And so we believe that to protect the reefs, it's really essential that we educate our visitors about how they should behave around our reefs. And we believe in keeping it really simple and straightforward so that visitors can absorb the messages pretty quickly and pretty easily. So we start the educational process right at the airport. Visitors get off the plane, and starting today at baggage claim, right above those baggage claim carousels, they're going to see some messaging that we have. And this messaging is going to run in a cycle every few minutes. So we wanted to make it fun. So we made it look like a Zoom meeting, which we're all very familiar with lately. Make it look like a Zoom meeting attended not by people, but by fish and animals. And there are 5 Zoom screens that show up, and each one has a simple message by the different participants. So the porcupine fish is saying, "Welcome to Maui." The sea turtle chimes in with his message. And these are just word balloons, "Help protect the reefs where we live." The butterfly fish is saying, "Never stand or walk on corals." The octopus is telling everyone to use only mineral-based sunscreen. And then you can't see the last screen, but the dolphin is directing people to a website, mauireefs.org, where they can learn more about coral reefs. And also at the airport, we have some large-scale window displays that are up in the southwestern terminal. That's the terminal. You get to the top of the stairs after TSA, head to your right, and you'll see these big window displays. And we wanted them to be really colorful and engaging. And again, really simple messaging that corals are alive, that you should not stand on corals. If you need to stand, stand only on sand. We want this to be simple for people to absorb. And especially, we know that people are often rushing through the airport. We also have some panels that talk about sunscreen and advising people to avoid sunscreens with oxybenzone and octinoxate, to wear rash guards and a hat, and in general, just to learn more and visit our website to learn more about protecting the reefs. So what happens next? After people leave the airport, they get into their car or their shuttle, and probably like most people probably pull out their phones and they start scrolling through to see what they might have missed, maybe on their social media account while they're taking that long flight to Maui. And so what we've done is we've geo-targeted social media ads to our visitors. So we've tried out a lot of different ads during this last year. We've done some with still photos, like the photo of the turtle, as you see. We've done some with video. We used older video that we had donated to us by Ziggy Livnot. And you can see there's a little scene there with someone stepping on coral, and we're reminding them not to do that. And we found that in our testing that the video ads are the most effective. So we decided that we were going to create some new short video spots and then kind of wrap them into the ads. And I'm going to give you a little sneak preview of one of these little video spots right now. Again, it's hasn't been launched yet in our social media ads, but it will be coming soon. So here we go. So again, just very short and simple, because as you know, people on social media don't have much of an attention span. So we also are running PSAs, public service announcement videos on the Maui Visitor Channel. We have 4 different ads. 2 of them were created by a volunteer, Alan Crawford. And we also have 2 other ads that were created by a local group called 3 Trees. I'm going to play one of these ads, or part of it, for you so you can see kind of where we're going with that.
Reefs protect our shorelines and provide habitat for marine wildlife. but we need your help to protect Maui's reefs. To new snorkelers, coral reefs may look like rock, but they're not rock. Coral reefs are actually made of fragile, soft-bodied animals living in colonies that slowly build a hard foundation beneath themselves. Protect the corals, and you'll help protect the habitat of sea turtles, fish, invertebrates, mollusks, and more. Never walk or stand on coral because it can kill the delicate reef-building coral animals. If you stand, please stand only on sand. And watch out for your fins. Kicking coral with your fins can harm or kill the delicate corals. Always keep your fins up and away from the reef. And when you choose sunscreen, only use mineral-based products to avoid reef-harming chemicals. Thank you on behalf of our marine wildlife.
Okay, so I'll stop it there. Yeah, so this is an example of, again, some more of the messaging reinforcing these important points about how to protect the reefs.
Maui's coral.
Oops, sorry. And other ways that we're reaching visitors, we have print ads and visitor magazines. You can see in that upper left corner, one of the ads that we ran about sunscreen. We have radio ads on all of our local stations. One of the ads was recorded for us by waterman Archie Kalepa. We also have Google search ads. So if someone searches where to see turtles on Maui, our ads will pop up and then direct them to this educational site that we have. We have banner ads on places like CNN and ESPN targeted at people who are visiting here in Maui. So they're checking out those sites and then seeing our ads. We also have beach signs at 39 locations on Maui. And we have dedicated website pages at mauireefs.org/snorkel and also sunscreen. So 2 different topics there where people can really find a lot of helpful information. So with the sunscreen program, we recently printed 10,000 small little business card sized pieces to distribute. We're going to be giving them free to resorts, concierge, stores, restaurants. And they're small, so they'll fit like on a concierge desk or on a restaurant counter very easily. And we want to educate people first about the Hawaii state law banning sunscreens with the sale of sunscreens with oxybenzone and octinoxate. We also want to help people report violations of the law. So at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, we volunteered to set up a program where people can email us or call us, and then we'll follow up with the stores and we'll just, keep talking with them and stay with them and maybe pester them until they, remove those products from their shelves. We also wanted to expand the knowledge that people have about sunscreens. I had some friends visit this summer and they proudly pulled out a bottle of sunscreen and said, look, it says reef safe, we're good to go. And I said, well, not exactly. So we worked with Dr. Craig Downs, who's an expert on the impacts of sunscreen pollution on our coral reefs. And he helped us add to the list of products that people or ingredients people should avoid. We have that listed on the card. And we also advise people to choose mineral sunscreens made with non-nanonized zinc oxide or titanium dioxide. And so, so we're trying to move people in the direction of looking for mineral-based products. And we're really excited about the new Maui County law that was just passed that starts in October 2022, allowing only the sale of mineral-based sunscreens because it will make it so much easier to educate people, to tell them what to buy rather than what not to buy. So all of this is made possible with support from the County of Maui Office of Economic Development. Lush Cosmetics also helped us with the airport display panels in the terminal. And we also wanted to just put a shout out to all the photographers and videographers and creative people and marketers who really helped us with this campaign. They really made it come to life. And just so to totally jump tracks here, just wanted to share a little bit of late breaking news that we were recently named as a recipient of a grant from National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and NOAA from their National Coastal Resilience Fund. And this project is going to address recurring stormwater flooding in the Hapapa watershed that impacts North Kihei. So if you live or travel along South Kihei Road, you know about this flooding that occurs during stormwater events. And we're looking at natural nature-based solutions that could help to mitigate or prevent the problem. And this grant is a first step. It's looking at some initial site planning and design, looking at some ideas that have already been put forth in plans. And then we'll be evaluating those with the help of the community and different stakeholders. And hopefully we'll start on the road to creating a plan, and we can pursue future funding from the same fund to create more detailed designs and obtain permits, and then ultimately, hopefully obtain funding to implement the solutions. So that's the latest on that. And I'm going to turn it back to you, Darla. Thank you all for listening to all this news.
That's a really exciting announcement. Thank you so much, Anne.
You're welcome.
You know, I wanted to remind people, if you have any questions, to go ahead and, you know, put a question in the Q&A. And I also wanted to say that we have some door prizes that we're going to be announcing in a little bit. Anne's going to gather those together for us, and so stick around for that. And while Anne is working on randomly pulling up those door prize winners, I wanted to mention that this is the season of giving and a great time to support Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's work for clean ocean water and healthy coral reefs. When you donate now, you'll double the impact of your gift, thanks to a dear friend and longtime supporter and MNMRC volunteer who will match all donations 1-to-1 up to a total of $8,000. And one idea I wanted to share from me personally is that not only making a donation for yourself, but also think about making one in the name of a family member. For kids, it helps instill caring community purpose and environmental awareness. And you can make a tribute donation for those in your circle who really don't need a material gift this holiday. MNMRC is worthy of your support, and you can donate at mauireefs.org. And there are so many creative ways that you can donate. One is through MNMRC's Adopt an Oyster program. For just $7, you can sponsor an oyster in the Oyster Project in Ma'alaya Bay. And here's the best part, that oyster will filter sediment and pollutants out of 40 to 60 gallons of ocean water every day throughout its lifetime. You'll receive a mailed certificate announcing your participation in our Adopt an Oyster program. When you adopt 1 or more oysters, adopt 4 or more, and you'll receive a 3x3 Adopt an Oyster Help Save Ma'alaya Bay holographic sticker. With your adoption of 15 or more oysters, you'll receive a beautiful handmade oyster shell ornament with a sea turtle illustration. With your adoption of 50 or more oysters, your business or ohana will get a special photo opportunity to pose with an oyster cage with your adopted oysters. I'm gonna check the Q&A here real quick, because we did have some questions come through and I want to get to those. I'm just going to finish a couple more things here, and we're going to get to your questions. So, you know, keep putting them in the Q&A, and then we're going to jump back to that. So in celebration of a new Maui County law that bans plastic disposable foodware as of January 1st, 2022, MNMRC is offering a free Hui Zero stainless steel bento box as a thank you gift with donations of $50 or more. And MNMRC got some inspiration from this next gift from staff members Meredith and Jill, who use these splash-proof Aloha collection bags to keep their car keys, phones, and cards safe while working out in the field. So you can choose one of those styles with a donation of $70 or more. And you'll find more ways to support MNMRC at their website, mauireefs.org, including supporting ocean water quality monitoring at your favorite beach, joining us as a member, or choosing from some of our classic thank you gifts. And now I am going to jump back to Q&A. I want to get to your questions. So first, Mara is asking, how can we control the nitrite levels? And why is this allowed? And what levels do other parts of Maui show? Who would like to jump on that question?
Yeah, I can start off talking about it. So first part of that, we do see the same levels at other parts of Maui. So Huioka-Vaiola, like I said, collects some of the data that we use. And if you go to their website, you also can see the West Maui data and the South Maui data. And most of the sites are also over that state standard of 3.5. Ways that we can stop this is kind of like how Jill was talking about earlier, that inorganic fertilizer use that doesn't get absorbed by the soil is washing down into the water, and that's one of the main sources, as well as injection wells and wastewater pollution. And I think there was another part of that question. Oh, why is it allowed?
Right.
So if you attended the talk last month, some of our Huioka-Vaiola tech team staff was here talking about how they came up with those state standards, and they were kind of adopted a long time ago. And they're trying to kind of figure out, you know, how did they come up with these standards? Like, where did this baseline data come from? And, you know, do we need to adapt new state standards? Like, what does it really mean? So it is kind of a question that a lot of us are asking, and hopefully we can, you know, dig into that a little deeper.
Okay, great. So we also got another question from Michelle. She wants to know, what is a rain garden? Great question.
I think, is Amy still here? I think that might be a question for her.
Yeah. I'm going to keep my video off because I have some internet connection issues apparently, but rain garden, similar to what we're talking about for the LID stuff in the Ma'alaia Triangle parking lot. It's typically just like an inverted garden, a place where stormwater or any type of water can run into it and capture it and allow it to filter down through rather than running off into a storm drain. So it's really meant to capture water. You typically put plants in there that can utilize and uptake the water well, or uptake the nutrients that's in the water. And a lot of times beneath the rain garden, beneath the surface, you can have different levels of strata of material that can help with infiltration rates. So you might have different types of soil or pea gravel, or sometimes you'll even put biochar down in the bottom of it. And that biochar is like think of like charcoal, what we use that for. It can help pick up some of those, you know, heavy metals or other, you know, pollutants that might come out of vehicles, like in parking lots. So it's really just another way to filter pollutants out of water that are coming off the land. And we had, you know, there's some examples of rain gardens. I know in West Maui, I think Esterns or Pohaku Park. I'm not sure if that one's still functioning. And we used to have one at the Humpback Whale National Marine Sanctuary in Kihei, but that one's no more.
Okay, great. Hey, I have another question for Amy. Amy, how much is the landowner participating and paying into the erosion fire break program? And is Ma'alaia Triangle owner Paul Chang participating?
So the fire breaks there that we're doing are mostly on the state unencumbered land. And so that is funded by a NIFWIF grant, but then DOFA and Land Division will do all the maintenance afterwards for going onto that. And then the Ma'alaia Triangle Association and the Ma'alaia Harbor Shops, they're all very supportive of the LID work that we're doing there. And we're just working together to figure out how to implement that financially. And again, we'll have a cost estimate on that, you know, after the summary comes out at the end of the year, or based on the BMPs that they've selected, or being interested in, but it's something that we'd certainly be open to working together on and finding a funding source, especially if it can be, you know, a shining example of what parking lots could be for Maui. I think that there are some maybe grant funders out there that would be interested in helping to contribute to a project like that. And it's kind of like the first exhibit when you come to Ma'alaya. You know, you're in this experience of signage and native plants and stormwater being captured and filters in the drains and permeable pavement. Like, wow, look at how Maui is really caring for its ocean environment before you enter the ocean center, before you go on that whale watch tour or fishing, commercial fishing, or something like that. I think there's a lot of potential for people to be interested in funding that project before we ask people to dip into maybe their own pockets for it. So it'll be a collaborative effort, I think.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a question for Meredith from Ellie. Does the Aqualink data equipment need permits? And can you share what are the 6 sites for the Aqualink?
I can share the sites. There's only 3, and the sites are Ma'alaya, just outside of the harbor there, Oluwalu, and then also the Cove in Kihei.
Okay.
Amy is the permitting gal, so.
Okay, Amy, do they need permits?
You know, we did have to get permission from OCCL, the Office of something in coastal land, sorry. So yeah, you know, you can't just kind of free for all drop things into the ocean, which is probably for the best. So yeah, we had to get state permission to do those.
Okay, great. And I have a question for Anne. So this is regarding concierge at one of the hotels. They would love to get education cards to hand out at Marriott's Maui Ocean Club, and are asking, please do a card about harassment of sea turtles and seals on shore. I know, gosh, that's such a important issue here, and dolphins in the ocean. Is there any plans to do more cards?
I think those are excellent ideas. And we actually were talking at our staff meeting about some of the places where we've seen more and more sea turtles hauling out and resting on shore, and then more and more people, you know, coming over to check them out. I think Wailea Point was one of the places we talked about. And so, you know, it seems like there is a need now that the turtles seem to be making it more of a habit to hang out on shore, that we really need to keep people away from them. So the cards are a good idea. We talked about signage at our meeting. You know, could we raise the funds to get some signage at some of these locations? So we're working on it and talking about it because it is important, and I appreciate the question.
Sure. Hey, Barbara's asking, are oyster reproduction encouraged and measured? So let's see, who would that be? Meredith?
Amy or I? Amy, you want to take it? You want me to talk?
Yeah, sure. We get asked that a lot, especially since we're, you know, bringing oysters into the harbor. You know, what about, you know, is this okay? And the oysters that we utilize, the big ones, the Pacific oysters, are actually kind of sterile. They have 3 sets of chromosomes, and they're bred that way from our aquaculture facility in Hilo, which is part of UH Hilo. So those guys are not making babies for us. They're just there focusing on getting big and fat and filtering lots of water. There are lots of native bivalves and non-native that do exist in the harbor. They're all much smaller, which is why we do like to use that Pacific species, because they're just bigger and filter more water. But we do utilize the native species. Those are fully intact little guys that are from the harbor originally, plus naturally occurring there. And those guys do make babies. You'll see them attached to mooring balls, and they're there already, whether we were there or not. We're happy to have them part of the project.
Okay, great. So I see that Anne is typing an answer to Barbara. She's asking you if there's any plans to put reef safety information into rental cars.
I think it's a good idea. It's something to explore. I think there's some logistics involved with that, you know, printing material, getting it to the rental car agencies. making sure that they're doing it and then following up and making sure you keep them supplied. So if we can, again, get some volunteers maybe to help us with a project like that, I think we could look at that in the future.
Okay. Hey, I don't want to drive Meredith crazy because we're done with our questions, and I wanted to jump back because there's an event coming up that's very delicious. And I know I've taken you out of order in your slide presentation. So if
No,
we
it's all
could,
good.
okay, if we could go back to that, this Sunday, December 5th at 12:30 p.m., there is a very delicious way to support Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, a signature guided chocolate tasting, Sunday, December 5th, 12:30 p.m. at Maui Kuia Estate Chocolate at their rooftop Ocean View Pavilion. And like a wine tasting, but instead with chocolate, this event will be led by the founder and CEO of Maui Kuia Estate Chocolate, Gunners Valkers. It's a great opportunity to hear his inspiration for starting a cacao farm and chocolate factory on Maui, and to discover why chocolate produced at their factory is such high quality. But best of all, you'll get to sample at least 9 varieties of their amazing chocolate, and 100% of the ticket price for this tour will benefit Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. I know it's $35 because I already looked for a ticket. Go to mauichocolatetour.com to purchase yours. And you'll also be able to hear more about Maui Nui Marine Resource Council and other environmental programs on the radio show I host, Island Environment 360, on all Hawaii media radio stations. And I have winners for the drawing. So we're going to go to that next. And then stick around because we've got a little bit more information for you too. We've got a really cool video to end with. But first we have Stephen Goldsmith. You are the winner of Maui Nui Resource Council Cup with holographic Huma Huma Nuku Nuku Apu A'a sticker. So if you are still with us, then you can contact us with your address and we will make sure to get that to you. And the next person is Bonnie Esbenson, ESBENSON. You have won a Hui Zero stainless steel bento box with a Huma Huma Nuku Nuku Apu A'a sticker. And then lastly, we've got Deborah George. You've won a Maui Nui Marine Resource Council Cup with a holographic sticker. And Anne, can you tell us where they will email their address to?
Certainly. Why don't you just email it to me, Anne, A-N-N-E, at mauireefs.org.
Okay. So I mentioned that we had a special treat before we sign off tonight. And I hope you stick with us for a few extra minutes. It's very short, very powerful. We'll be showing a trailer to The Healing Land, Healing People, a short documentary film that tells the story of how Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's team helped secure Maui Cares funding so that 70 unemployed and underemployed Maui and Molokai residents could obtain work during the time of COVID-19. These Maui County residents were hired to assist 7 local nonprofits with nature-based restoration projects and provided paychecks and job training, and reinvigorated deep and meaningful connections to the Aina and the power of Kuleana and their own sense of purpose. This film conveys the unique story of the program and the way it helped heal the land and its people. This is just a brief part of it. This is a preview. It will be shown at the Maui Film Festival as part of the Speed of Light virtual cinema from now through December 8th. And it's part of short film program number 6. So Meredith, can we go ahead and roll that trailer now?
E umau kia I mai ka pō mai, nā ia mai ka hale o mākou, mai luna lala mai kai ki hia, kai ki mai kai ki nā ke kumahana mai kau kai kai, mai loko awa, kia ia, I've always liked working with the land. I love getting my hands dirty. You always need like an outlet or a way to kind of cleanse yourself.
When we talk about ecological restoration, we're really talking about healing the people at the same time that we're healing the land.
COVID what it is it gave nature a chance to recover. It gave us a chance to see what we've given up. We had the unique ability of putting people back to work.
When you get into the mud, it actually touches from head to toe because spiritually you're working.
This is where I was born and raised, you know, like this is where I grew up. This means everything to me. I bled, sweat, you know, cried. I am the land, and the land is me, you know.
And every rock is important. Every pohako has its own mana, his own power. I know for sure that my family is in this wall.
And this place has always been a place of deep mana and deep stories.
From the Mocha to Makai, the mountains to the ocean, by taking care of the land, the ocean becomes protected too.
For me as an elder, to see our youngins out there made me feel proud.
So incredibly moving. From everyone at Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, we just wanted to thank you so much for joining us tonight and want to wish you a very warm holiday season. And we'll see you back here again in January. Mahalo.